All right. So, hello everyone, and welcome to our Using JAWS with Windows training session. Today's focus will be on using JAWS and File Explorer. Today is February 28th, 2024, and I'd like to welcome back our presenter from Vispero, Elizabeth Whitaker. Elizabeth, thanks for coming back.
All right, thank you for having me back. So I'm going to go ahead and share my screen, and we're just going to jump right in here and talk about File Explorer. Let's. All right, I'm going to share my sound.
Started screen share. Press F6 to switch between.
All right, can you hear
Yes.
JAWS?
Yep.
Okay, is the volume good here?
Mute.
Uh,
Currently
it
muted.
is for me.
It is.
Yep.
Okay,
Slower.
I'll slow it down just a little bit. All right, so File Explorer can be one of those areas that is pretty busy. And what I mean by that, it can get pretty cluttered, and it can be one of those areas where if you really need to find a file fast and you're trying to tab and arrow, it can be a little bit confusing, or sometimes you open things and you didn't mean to open them, or you are having difficulty locating what you're looking for. So what I want to do today is show you how to navigate to File Explorer and show you some quick ways to locate what you need. Now, before I launch File Explorer, I just want to point out too that one of the major differences between File Explorer in Windows 10 and Windows 11 is the menu structure. So in Windows 10, when you're in File Explorer, you can press Alt and you will get a ribbon that is very similar to the ribbon that you'll see in the Microsoft Office products. For example, Word, Excel, PowerPoint. When you're navigating through the menu structure, you're in the ribbon. In Windows 11, you have more of a menu bar, but it's a little bit different than your standard menu bar. So that's what we're going to be talking about. But you will still find a lot of the same options. Well, you'll still find all the same options. You just might have to navigate to them a little bit differently. So File Explorer is where we go to locate folders, files, drives that we might have on our computer. For example, if you plug in a flash drive. And the way to launch it quickly is Windows E, Echo.
Title is
Okay, there we go. Sorry about that. I launched it and it just took a minute. So let's do window title, insert T or JAWS key T, which if you have JAWS and laptop layout, that would be caps lock T.
Title is Elizabeth Vispero Inc.
All right. Now, mine goes directly to OneDrive because that's what we use here at Vispero primarily. If you use OneDrive, yours would go, could possibly go to OneDrive automatically, or it will go to whatever you have the default set to, which could be your hard drive, for example. All right. However, I want to show you some quick ways to locate things. So I'm here in my OneDrive. Now, I'm here in a list of folders and files, and I could use my up and down arrow keys.
My files, 2 of 3. Video production, 3 of 3.
And these are just names of folders here in my OneDrive. Now, the way that these are arranged, files and folders are arranged with folders are going to be on top, unless you've changed it, but by default, they're going to be on top. And then the files come next, individual files. So folders contain files. They're going to be listed in alphabetical order. If you have a folder or a file name that has a number, for example, let's say I had a folder called 2024 blog posts, then it would arrange the numbers first. So it's going to arrange things in alphabetical order, and it's going to put them numerically first. And then after the folders, it's going to arrange the files in alphabetical order. One thing you can do is first letter navigation. So if I wanted to go to this folder I have here called My Files, I could press M for My.
My files, 2 of 3.
And it said 2 of 3, and then I could enter to open that folder. When I wanted to close that folder, if I wanted to go back to where I was and choose a different folder, I could press backspace. So I can hit enter.
See users UI Taker OneDrive Vispero Inc. My files, items view list box. Items view multi-select list box. Not selected desktop. 2/6/2024 8:22 p.m.
So it just read us a bunch of information about a folder that I have called desktop. And it also read when that folder was created, the date and the time and things like that. So let's say I entered on my files and I thought, no, that's not where I want to go. I'm going to go back. So I'm going to hit backspace.
Elizabeth Vespero Inc. Items view list box. Items view multi-select list box. Not selected desktop. 1 of 3.
Now what it did here is it went back to the previous location, but there is no file or folder selected. So when you hear it say not selected, that means you either need to press space on whatever folder. In this case, this one's also called desktop. I had accidentally copied this one, to the wrong place. So anyway, not to be confused with the other one. So we have one called desktop here, and if I press space, it will select it.
Video my files to desktop.
There we go. Sorry about that. I hit an arrow key. So if we press space, it will select it. Now, sometimes what happens is it'll say not selected desktop, for example, but it'll actually be on my files, which is where I was to begin with. So and the reason I want to point this out is because sometimes this happens and it's a little confusing, but if you're ever confused about where you are, here's a good command to use. You can press Insert Tab or Caps Lock Tab.
My files 2/19/2024 11:30 a.m. 2 of 3.
All right.
To an item.
And it will read the item that you're on. So that was why I wanted to show you, how that worked. All right. So here's what I really want to point out about File Explorer. So we go here. We've just pressed Windows E, Echo. We're here in File Explorer. I want to go locate, I want to go locate, a folder or file very quickly. Maybe I want to search for a certain blog post, or maybe I want to search for all files that have the word blog post in them. So if I press Shift Tab several times, we're going to navigate through some things here, but I just want to press Shift Tab a few times, and I'm specifically looking for the word search.
Navigation pane. Details pane is open. More options button. Search Elizabeth Vespero and edit.
Okay, so here I could just type in what I want and press enter. And then I'm going to tab several times until I get back to
New details pane. Navigation. Items view multi-select list box.
where it says items view. The rest of that stuff, and I don't mean it doesn't matter, but unless you want to use those navigation panes and all the other things here, and have to tab and Shift Tab and things like that, they don't matter. What you're looking for is Shift Tab until you find the word search, and you're going to be in an edit box and type what you're searching for and press enter, and then tab back over here to where it says, we're going to use that command again, Caps Lock Tab or Insert Tab.
My files 2/9.
Oh, wait.
Items view multi-select list box.
So it's going to say items view multi-select list box. All right. Why am I sharing all this with you? Because I know it's confusing. Because when you tab through here, you're going to hear a lot of different things. And I think it's important to know what to listen for. If you're listening for key pieces of information, then, that's what you're going to hear when you reach them. So, all right. So we've just opened File Explorer. Now we know how to do search. We can Shift Tab until we get to search, type what we want and press enter. But what if, let's explore our menu options first. Let's see what we have. Now this is where the differences that I was talking about come in. If you're using Windows 10 and you press Alt, you're going to hear something about the ribbon. If you're using Windows 11 and you press Alt, you're going to hear this.
Details pane is opened. New button collapsed.
It's going to say new button collapsed. All right, so let me hit escape.
Items.
For some reason, it read something else that was on the screen here.
New button collapsed. 1 of 9.
All right, so it said new button collapsed. 1 of 9. This is a menu bar that you can navigate using your right and left arrow keys. It does not wrap around like most menu bars do. So when you get to the far right and you press the right arrow key, it doesn't wrap back around to the first item. You have to actually press your left arrow to navigate back across. Now it says 1 of 9, but if we right arrow,
cut button 2 of 9.
We hear 2 of 9. That's your cut. You could cut this folder and paste it somewhere else.
Copy button 3 of 9. Rename button 5 of 9.
So there it skipped 4 of 9 because whatever that 4 of 9 option was, it's not available where we currently are. So that's not a big deal. It's just if you're arrowing through here and you think, well, it skipped some items, it's doing that on purpose because it needs other information to be displayed on the screen in order for those items to be present. All right.
Share button 6 of 9.
I have a share button here because, again, I'm using OneDrive, and OneDrive is cloud service, so I can share files with my coworkers or with other people.
Delete button 7 of 9. Sort button collapsed 8 of 9.
So here in the sort, we're not going to navigate through all of these options, but here we have a sort button and it said collapsed. We will space to open it, but this is where we can sort our files. We can sort them by name, date, ascending or descending. This is where if you open your File Explorer one day and all the things that begin with Z are at the top and the A's are at the bottom, something got flipped around. This is where you would go to choose ascending instead of descending. All right. So that's just one of the main things I wanted to point out there. Let's right arrow again.
View button collapsed 9 of 9.
So here's a view button and it's collapsed. So I'm going to press space to open this part because this contains a few really important options that I want to show you.
Extra large icons 1 of 11.
So if you have some vision, you might want to change your icons here. We have extra large. I'm just going to down arrow through these options.
Large icons, medium icons, small icons.
So there you have some options for icon size.
List 5 of 11.
So here we have some views, and what this means is how do you want your files to be displayed in File Explorer? The list option places the files in one column. So you just up and down arrow through your files. If you were to press right or left arrow, nothing would happen because there's only one column displayed.
Details 6 of 11.
I like details because details puts them into columns. So on your left, you have the name of the file. And if you right arrow, you have information like when the file was modified and when it was created, things like that.
Tiles 7 of 11.
Tiles would be more like a grid situation where you would up and down and right and left and navigate through your files.
Content checked 8 of 11.
Content, that is just another, we're not going to worry about that one. That's another way of displaying your files.
Details pane checked, not preview pane 10 of 11.
Here we have some panes.
Show submenu 11 of 11.
Let's go back up here to details.
The content checked 8 tiles 7 details 6 of 11.
And I'm going to press enter.
View button collapsed.
And it's going to check details, but it's going to collapse this view menu. So we're going to press space to open it again.
Extra large icons.
And let's down arrow to details and see if it says checked.
Large icons, medium icons, small icons, list 5 of 11, details checked 6 of 11.
There we go. All right, so the other thing I want to show you is down here, the very last item.
Preview pane, show sub menu 11 of 11.
We have a show sub menu. I'm going to right arrow to open this.
Navigation pane checked.
So here we have some things that you can check or uncheck. Navigation pane is checked. That's just where you can go to view all your drives and you can view all your folders and files, but it can be confusing because you have items that are collapsed or expanded. So if you don't want to have to worry about that, you can uncheck this.
Compact view 2 item checkboxes 3 of 5.
I turned this off because I don't need to select multiple items frequently, but also what I didn't want to hear was when I navigate through my files, by default, you would hear Josh say, blog post checkbox checked. I didn't need to hear that. I was already on the item. I wasn't going to be selecting it. So I just went here and unchecked this.
File name extensions checked 4 of 5. Show or hide the set of characters.
I have this checked because file extensions are what determines, that's what tells the computer what type of file it is. So if you have a file that's, blog post dot docs, DOCS, or blog post dot PDF or blog post dot HTML, that tells it, that dot docs tells it this is a Word document, or if it's PDF, this is a PDF document. I like to hear the file extension just to know what program should open when I press enter on the file.
Hidden items 5 of 5.
So here's your hidden items. These are usually files that belong to an application, not always, but typically they're files that belong to an application that you probably don't need to see, but you can if you want. So that's what we have here under the show submenu.
Show submenu.
All right. I'm going to
View button.
press escape. All right. I pressed escape. It took us back to the show submenu. I pressed it again. It took us back to this menu bar that we're on. And so we're here on
View button. Collapse 9 of 9.
the view button, which is collapse. But if I press right arrow,
More options button.
we have a more options button. So again, we can press enter here.
Menu. Compressed a zip file button.
And we get some other options.
Pin to quick access.
Now, we really don't need these right now.
Copy path. Select all button. Select none button. Invert select properties button. Options button.
But the very last one is options. And this is where you would go to change your folder options. We're not going to talk too much about that right now. We can do more on that if that's something that you guys are interested in. But folder options are things like, how do you want your folders to open? By default, they're just going to open right where you are. But if you wanted them to open in a separate window, you could do that. But the reason I mentioned folder options is because there's also a setting in there that allows you to, let's say you like the way a particular folder is set up, you can apply that view to every folder on your computer. So that's why I wanted to mention that. All right, let's press escape. A couple more things to show you here about File Explorer, and then we'll get to your questions.
Leaving menus. More options button. Items view multi-select list box. My files 2/19.
All right.
Status available on this device.
So here I just pressed right arrow and it tells me the status. And this is because I'm in OneDrive. Once again, because that's a cloud service, it's going to give me the status and tell me that this particular folder is available on my device. It's also available on OneDrive. But what I want to show you how to do is also you can right click on a folder or file. You can press Shift F10 or the applications key and you get some options.
Context menu. Copy Control plus C 2 of 5. C cut Control plus X 1 of 5.
All right. So for some reason, it always goes down to the second option, but you have cut, copy. I'm just arrowing through here.
Rename F2 3 of 5.
It said rename. Now you also heard it say F2. What that means is when you're on the folder or file, you don't have to open the context menu. You can just press F2 and then you will be presented with an edit box and you can rename it and press enter.
Share 4 of 5.
Here I could share.
Delete 5 of 5.
Or I could delete. So I just wanted to show you once again that you can use those context menus.
Leaving menus. Items view.
All right. One of my favorite features or favorite ways to use File Explorer. Let's say that I am looking for something specific. I'm going to Alt F4 and we're going to come back into it.
Mute.
Because I want to show you why this is really powerful. Windows E, Echo, that's going to open File Explorer.
Elizabeth Vespero Inc. Items view multi-select list box.
All right. So by default, mine goes to my OneDrive, but let's say I want to navigate to the documents folder that is on my computer. I'm going to press Control L.
Address bar edit.
That takes me, that's also, you can also use that command on the web, but that takes me to the address bar. It's very similar to the same address bar we use on the web.
Address bar edit Elizabeth Vespero Inc.
So it tells me where I am. I'm just going to type documents. Incidentally, you could also type this PC. You could type, another, folder name. I'm just going to type documents and press enter.
Documents. Items view list box. Items view multi-select list box. Not selected books. File folder 1 of 43.
All right. And it took me to my documents folder. And if I down arrow.
Custom off downloaded installation effect 4 of 40.
Now, again, we talked about the difference between list and details. List, if you have it set to list, it will just list your files in one column. And if you press right or left arrow, you won't hear anything. But if you have it set to details, let's say I want to know when this file was created or modified. I can press right arrow.
Date modified 11/13/2023 12:18 p.m. 1 of 1.
And it gives me that information. And I can press left arrow.
Effect 4 of 43.
And I'm back here on the file name. Another thing that's really interesting about that, let's say I'm looking for a file that I know I modified, I don't know, yesterday or last week. If I right arrow to this date or this modified by date,
Date modified.
I can just up and down arrow through all the different dates here.
2/23/2024 4:28 p.m.
And if I think, oh, well, that was just modified, let's see what it is, I can left arrow.
Zoom 5 of 43.
And
2/15/2024 02.docs 6 of 43.
again, that just gives me an easy way if I want to kind of navigate there by date. All right, then when I'm finished, I'm going to press Alt F4.
Mute, currently unmuted.
And that is what I wanted to show you about File Explorer. So just to kind of summarize it, when you press Windows E and you open File Explorer, you will be in your list of folders and files. You can Shift Tab several times to search for something. You can also press Control L, which takes you to the address bar, and type a specific folder, or you could type this PC and press enter, and it's going to take you right to that folder. And then we talked about some of the menu options. Usually you don't need to change those often, so that may be something that you just kind of go to and you change once, or maybe you go and you alter something, but you're not going to go to those every time. All right, with that, I'm going to stop sharing my screen and let's see if we have any questions.
Really? No questions?
Okay, I was just waiting to see if someone else had one.
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay, so because really this makes sense, but when you're in, say, your side of not your Elizabeth, but on the PC side,
Mhm.
okay, of Windows Explorer. So I know in Windows 10, when you are in Windows Explorer, when I hit Windows E, get into it, you get down arrow or do first letter navigation. Can you still do that? So let's say you wanted to go to, say, your music file folder, or you wanted to go to your, one of the other, it would be like, how it has documents, it has that, but I'm trying to understand if you're in there now, if you go to your side, so you had like OneDrive, which, but then you have the PC side. I mean, the PC side, would it give you what is in that OneDrive, like if you open that, does it still give you a list of everything that's there, like your documents, music? Say you have
Yes.
music, say you have an say B drive, C drive, external drive, because you might have an SD reader in there, an SD card in, or whatever. I'm trying to understand, does it have that? And I'm not wording it properly.
No, I think I understand what you're saying, and please feel free to correct me if I'm not answering this, if I'm answering the wrong question. But yes, so mine just happens to be set to go to OneDrive. If you had yours set to go to this PC, then you could down arrow to the drive that you wanted. Or, yes, you can do first letter navigation. So if you had it set to go to documents, for example, when you pressed Windows E, then you could just press the first letter of the file that you wanted and press enter on it. So yes, it will still do all of those things that you could do in Windows 10.
Okay. Because that, your use of a format,
Sure.
and so you can keep it off OneDrive. See, I've heard people say, well, I'm not sure if I'm on OneDrive or I'm on my computer side. And, that has been the big thing. I'm like, oh my gosh, I don't think I could do this. It's been one of
No,
my biggest fears.
Well, okay, a couple of things. You can keep it from going to OneDrive. If you don't use OneDrive, then OneDrive is not going to show up there. If you're not using it and you're not signed into, OneDrive with your Microsoft account, you're not even going to have that option there. But if you have it set to go to this PC, then when you open it, that's where it's always going to go.
So if you then wanted to go to your OneDrive, you can just change it then. Okay.
Yes.
Okay, so you can set it to PC. Okay, that's what
Yes.
I wanted to know.
By default,
That
it
is
will
important
not
to
go to OneDrive, Louise.
No.
Okay.
So you won't even see that. And
No, the only
Diana?
reason mine
ahead.
does is because it's an organizational thing for a
Yeah,
company.
I realize that. This is why I'm asking the questions, because I want to be
Mhm.
clear
Yes.
and understand before I do this. I mean, I'm taking this before I get one, but I really want to understand what to do here. You know, it's so confusing.
And you can always reach out to me, Louise.
I know.
Diana, you have your hand up?
I did have my hand up, and it follows on that question. And maybe you didn't want to do this today, but how to force File Explorer to go where you want it to go. In other words, point to specific locations. Like mine happens to go to OneDrive, but I want it to go to, say, the Documents folder in OneDrive rather than the top of the hierarchy.
Right. So are you using Windows 10 or 11?
On this computer that I'm talking about, 11.
Okay, because I no longer have access to 10, so I didn't want to. That's one reason I didn't
No,
navigate
this
over
is
there.
for sure 11. I know that for sure. I think it might have gone there once, but I might have played and done something, and I can't remember how to get it back so that it
Yeah.
can go. It's at the top of my route, like I know where it is, and I can get to where I want to go, but I just want to know how to.
So
make
I
it
am
do
looking that up for you now because yeah, that is one of the things that. Okay, the first thing. So what you do is here. Let me share my screen and answer this. This will be easier. Let me do that.
If that wasn't for today, it doesn't matter. I just.
Oh no, I don't mind. I definitely want to show you. All right, let's see.
Started screen.
Okay.
Elizabeth Vespero in.
All right, so I'm here in File Explorer and I'm going to press Alt.
Diana Brent raised. New button collapsed. 1 of 9.
Oh, sorry, I didn't
You're
put
fine.
my hand down.
That's okay. All right, so I'm going to press Alt and I'm going to navigate over here to
Sort view more options button.
the More Options button,
Ah,
and I'm going to
okay.
press space.
Menu pin to quick access button.
And if you up arrow because you're closer,
Less app bar button. Options button. 6 of 6. Change settings for opening items, file and folder views, and search.
so here we have the Options button. So you go to, you press Alt, you go to More, and then you up arrow to Options and press Enter.
Leaving menus. Folder options dialog. General page. General page. Open File Explorer 2 combo box. Elizabeth Vespero Inc. 3 of 3.
Ah, okay.
So this is where you would go to drill down in there. I could,
This PC 2 of 3.
No, that I
1 of
understand
right.
how to get there then. But because when I think when I first got the computer, it opened to that access or whatever that was you just passed.
Right.
And I
Oh,
hate
1 of
that.
3.
That,
actually.
yes, yes.
And I
I
hate
think
the
a lot
home.
of people do.
And
me
I
too.
know that's supposed to be useful, but I was trying to get out of there, I think is what happened. So that it would open somewhere else, but that
Right.
helps. Thank you.
Sure.
This Elizabeth. Items view.
All right, let's see. Any more
Mute,
questions? Yeah,
currently
that
unmuted.
is a good one, and that was definitely something that I should have mentioned there. So
No more questions? Going once? Twice?
I was thinking, I know how to do this, but are people interested in knowing how to do, because Elizabeth would be good to go over it. When you are copying and cutting files, you can copy files that are right next to each other, or you can skip files and only copy files that are not. And it's really easy to do, but if people don't know how to do that, that's something that might be useful to them.
yeah, that might be something that's good for maybe a lesson on copying and pasting. Because there are a couple of different ways to do that. I think some of
That's
the
true.
one of the easiest ways is to use the control key and things like that. But there's another way to do it. So that might be something that we could actually do a whole unit on.
Oh, I love that because there's not just copying a file, it's moving file, like a file from one
Yes.
area to another area.
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely.
Sometimes you have it, when it comes in your documents folder, I'll use this example, you might have a folder. So let's just say I have one called JAWS. I'll just use that as a fun one. So
Mhm.
I get an email, I copy and paste it into a document, I put it into my documents folder because I want that information later. Just use that as an example, and it's not one I do that often, but it's one I could do. So then you've got a JAWS folder, but you can make folders, of course, in Explorer in documents. So you make a JAWS folder, so copy and pasting it, but you want to move it instead of copy and paste. You don't want to copy and paste it. You want to move it. So making sure people understand the difference between copying and moving something in their documents folder is important too, if you're doing that. Does that make sense?
Mhm.
Because sometimes you want to move a file from your documents into a folder. And sometimes if you don't do it right, you can have a file in your JAWS folder, and you can have a copy in your other folder, and it's like then you're scared to delete something.
Right. No, I understand. Yeah. And sometimes, and that again, that's one of those reasons that I turn on that file extension option there. So it reads me dot, whatever it is, dot docs or dot HTM, so that you know what you're copying, or you know what you're moving, or you know what kind of file it is.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, just to speak to what you said there, Diane, like if you can hold control down and up and down arrow through files and use your space bar to select or deselect. So that is one of it's probably the easiest way to do it. But we can definitely do an entire training on moving, copying, pasting, restoring. What happens if you do something that you didn't mean to do? You put something in a place where you didn't mean to put it,
Yeah, I use that control thing to move stuff all the time, actually. When I'm it's my friend.
It is, and that's that's a very powerful keyboard command that we probably don't talk enough about, because that is one of those things, like you said, it will allow you to select files that aren't necessarily next to each other.
Yeah, and I think the other thing about Windows 11 that you have to remember is just because in all earlier versions, if you sat on a file, it was selected.
Right.
Here, it is not, and
No.
that's a huge difference. And you mentioned that, but
Oh,
Well,
okay. You didn't know that one. Thank you. That's a good one to know because that is because yes, it
Yeah.
is in Windows 10. Yeah.
and you'll hear it say not selected. Like what happened when I was going back to the previous folder there in the demo there, it said not selected desktop, but what it didn't tell me was that my files was still selected. So it was indicating that the first option wasn't, but it just didn't tell me that the second one still was. So again, being able to use that insert tab or caps lock tab to get that information, because it'll say what you're on and it'll say whether it is selected. That's a JAWS command, by the way, that reads the current control.
Right. Yeah, that's a good one. I had kind of forgotten about that, what I knew about it, but that is really useful. Mostly I use a braille display without speech,
Okay. Yeah.
just because I prefer that. I get enough stuff talking at me.
Right.
Today
I
I've got
understand.
my same display connected to my phone and my computer, and I've been switching back and forth to write notes and to participate in the meeting. But it's helpful because you get the characters underneath to show it's selected
Yes.
when you've got the braille display.
Yep, you're right. That is very helpful.
Well, if there's no other questions for Elizabeth, we can wrap this session up and let her get back on with her day. Elizabeth,
Okay.
what? I can't even talk. I need more coffee or something. Is there anything else you'd like to cover? Did we cover everything of importance?
Yes, the main thing I just wanted to cover for File Explorer, because it is so vast, and if you tab, a lot of times you do get lost in there. So those are the things I wanted to show how to search and how to go to a specific folder. And then Diane, Louise, you all asked some great questions, so thank you for those.
And is some of this information on the freedomscientific.com/training page? Would there be a webinar on File Explorer?
There is a webinar on Windows 11 that does cover most of this.
Okay,
I say most of it. We didn't talk about the selecting and deselecting, but
right.
yes, you can find the information there as well.
Perfect.
Perfect. That's great. Yes, I didn't mean to derail your discussion.
Oh no, I am
just-
glad you asked that question. That was a great question. I'm always happy to answer questions like that, so no problem.
Well, and if you guys have future topics for us to cover, let me know, because I can reach out to Elizabeth again and have her come back and do some more sessions with us. I know this is something
Absolutely.
we want to
Mhm.
continue ongoing. There's so much.
There is.
Yeah.
You know, how to label titles in Excel sheets, right? You know,
Oh my goodness. Yeah,
We can do
we had a
that.
little session on Excel yesterday, but
yeah.
that is one that Excel is really useful. But I went into the JAWS commands help screens, and it's like, oh my God, I don't want to monitor a cell. I could move around. All I want to do is highlight a column. I mean, I could search it and I found it, but
Well-
there's just so much.
Well, I'm sure Elizabeth can testify
Yeah.
to this as well, but I think, you know, in the 30 plus years I've been doing support for Freedom Scientific products, most of us use probably 20% of what the program's capable of
Sure.
actually doing for us,
Mhm.
right?
Absolutely.
You know, you get into the JAWS verbosity settings and you can do so much, defining column and row titles and regions and so much that people don't even know exists. So that might be something we definitely want to go
Yeah.
over.
Yeah, we could
I have
definitely do
a-
that.
I have an off-topic question, but it's related to Word and JAWS.
Okay.
I know how to make styles for headings, but I got a situation where the stuff below the heading got accidentally made into the heading. I wanted to, and undo didn't fix it. Probably, well, I have no idea why, but is there a command that, like Alt Control 1 does heading 1, is there a command that'll set a highlighted portion to a normal style?
I think so. Hang on just a second. We're going to try
Sorry.
that. No, you're good. All right, so I'm making this into a heading. I'm going to select. So let's see. Alt Control 0 is supposed to do it, but I'm not getting that to work. Oh, wait, there is a keyboard command. Now, if I could just remember what it is.
It's okay. I didn't mean to put you on the spot. It got very annoying.
No, I got
as I
it.
do this- Okay.
Sorry. It is Control Shift N for normal.
Oh, I love you.
Oh, I bet Monday morsels would be better.
Yes, Monday morsels will be better. I got the wrong. The date was right in the text and wrong in the heading, only I didn't pick it up in time to fix it. So that's why today was confusing maybe for some people, but if they read into the information, it was the correct date in there.
Yeah, what it will do. So I'm playing with it right now. What it's actually doing is it's going between the normal and the heading style. But I tell you what, let me work with this some more and get you a consistent answer. And then Ryan, if I could just email that to you, could you pass that on?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, cool. Yes.
Yes.
Because
We should have stopped the recorder because this
No,
had
that's all right.
nothing to
I'm
do
gonna
with today.
Yeah, that's okay. I'm gonna stop it now.
I had one more question, and it's actually something that I would love some training in, and it might be some, this is really into JAWS really much more, and would be an
Oh, good.
interesting area because